Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Dr. Cat again, and this is my second. Listen to me this morning. My second episode of I'm Just Saying. And as I told you previously, I would come monthly and try to support the individuals that are in the community that are 50 plus to spotlight them and their activities. So this day, we have Royal Height, who is the music ambassador, as well as the nephew of Dorothy Height. When we'll get to that later. But Royal Height has been doing some wonderful, dynamic things in the community as well as national. So I definitely felt you guys needed that information, but it was a privilege for me to even, be introduced to Mr. Height and learn about what he's doing for music artists as well as aspiring artists, right? So he has this organization called Venro Records, where he's touching hearts and changing minds. I love how that just rolls out, because we need somebody to touch some hearts and change some minds around here. But anyway, welcome, Mr. Heights. Height, how are you today?
Good morning, Dr. Cat. I'm doing quite well, and I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for thinking enough of me to invite me to be a part of your programming. I certainly am honored to be here and look to work with you down the road. You're doing wonderful things as well. I've watched you a while too, and I can say with assuredness that you are a fantastic young lady.
Oh wow, thank you. I feel privileged. And this what's this Women's History Month? So
Absolutely, absolutely,
so
absolutely.
I definitely appreciate that. A lot of times we don't get accolades when we need them. And today I needed that because some days are a little rougher than others. But I love but in the same vein, I love what you're doing and how you have made this inclusive space for recording artists and helping them with their needs. But more importantly, how you're now educating and preparing people that want to get into the industry and be able to learn the business aspect, because a lot of times I read these horrible stories about individuals that, especially in that whole hip hop rap circle,
Yeah.
where they don't understand what they're signing and getting into legally. All they see is the money. And unfortunately, a lot of these individuals are from poverty backgrounds. So a little bit of dollars get them excited and they wind up being in horrible contracts. So it's just a shame. But I'm glad there's organizations like yours, especially yours, out here in DC where we have so many creative minds. So, but enough about that. I want people to know who is Royal Heights. So give us a little background. Tell us about the wonderful things you've done, and as well as maybe a couple of your greatest achievements.
Well, first of all, music is something that's really dear to my heart. I'm a native Washingtonian, and my background in music goes all the way back to when I was a young kid. I sang in choirs in church.
Mm,
I sang in the choirs at school, the glee clubs, and all that kind of stuff. And even formally took piano lessons for several years and whatnot. But I always loved music. But I was most inspired. I think, one of my big inspiration was my uncle. I got an uncle. His name was Donald Height,
mm.
and it turned out Donald he sang with James Brown.
Oh wow.
He was one of the original Flames, and anybody want to look it up. His name is Donald Height, and he sang. And believe it or not, when I met him, I actually learned about James Brown long before the story came out. And I was able to, when I saw the James Brown story, actually see a lot of the stuff that my uncle had pointed out to me even long before it was ever a story. So I'm
Wow.
talking about back in the 60s and 70s and whatnot. So that was very
Okay.
exciting. But he was a great inspiration. He sang on one of the local TV channels, which was WOOK here in
Mm-hmm.
DC. They had a program called Tina Rama, which he sang on, and he also was performing at the Howard Theater. We were able to go down and actually see him perform, and I think that kind of provided a spark for me. I enjoyed the music and the glitter and the fancy outfits, and it was just magical. That's all I could say. So that I think
Wow.
that might have been part of my first kind of inspiration, and I just
Yeah.
always liked to sing too.
Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah, that sounds inspiring. So, so that's about your background. But tell us about more so what were you doing on a professional level? Because I think I recall you telling me that you also sung professionally. So, can you
Yes, well,
give us a little background?
I actually I started off. My original career that I was going into was medicine. I actually have a degree in zoology and chemistry out of Howard University, and I attended UCLA Medical School, and I was there. And from there, I went on. I ran my own insurance agency for about 8 years. I was a young general manager. I had my own agency at the age of 24 years old, and I was $1 million producer back in the 70s.
Wow.
From there, I came back to DC in 1980 and picked up with the music. I got with a couple guys, and we started our own little amateur group.
Hmm.
But amazingly, back in 1996, I got a call from a group called the Winstons, which had won a Grammy for a song called Color Him Father, which
Hmm.
is still a standout song every Father's Day on most of the R&B stations. They always play that song. And I was there. I was invited to audition to be their lead vocalist, which I did. And I worked with them for about 2.5 years. And I performed in Baltimore. And I was seen by another group, a really outstanding group called the Orioles, which originated out of Baltimore. It was Sonny Till and the Orioles, but Sonny Till had passed, and the legacy continued
Mm.
as the legendary Orioles. They invited me again to one of their auditions, and oh my God, within 2 or 3 days, I went from auditioning to opening up a show in Baltimore. I mean, I
Wow.
auditioned on a Tuesday night. I rehearsed with the group for the first time on Thursday night, and Saturday night, I had the microphone opening up the show with the lead song and closing the song with the finale. And that was magic to me because they are the Orioles were to the 1950s what the Temptations were to the 60s.
Oh,
It
wow.
was the champion. It was the standout group. All of the groups that came along that we know and revere from the 60s, their inspiration was the Orioles from the 50s during the doo-wop era. And
Okay.
if you check most of the what they call this discography for groups, doo-wop groups, the Orioles are usually listed in the top 10 male groups. Many have them listed as the number one male group. It was a crossover group even in the 1950s. Sonny Till was a super singer. I mean, a gem of a singer. He was awesome. And the Orioles were actually performing for crossover groups back in the 50s when most Black groups did not. And I'll tell you a quick story. When Motown started in the late 50s, they tried to secure the Orioles to be one of the artist groups on the label,
Hmm.
but they couldn't afford to pay the Orioles because the Orioles were making more money than they could afford to pay to get them on Motown. So
Wow.
that's the Orioles' legacy.
Wow. Look
They
at
had a number
God.
one song
Wow.
called "Crying in the Chapel," which is still regarded as one of the top 10 doo-wop songs ever produced from that music era. And in Christmas music, most of us have heard. Have you ever heard the song "What Are You Doing New Year's Eve"?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
That was originally performed by the Orioles. That was the group to release that song.
Little known Black history
Yeah.
fact. Did y'all
I'm,
hear that?
I'm very
Wow.
fortunate. The Orioles, they are a part of more than 9 or 10 different professional vocal group halls of fame, different halls of fame groups, inclusive of the R&B, rock and roll, the doo-wop, and the vocal group halls of fame. Here in DC, the Washington American Music Association, WAMA, Smithsonian, and you just go down the list. The Orioles are a standout. They are recognized. In fact, Billboard magazine recognized the Orioles back in the early 50s as the first true R&B group ever.
Wow. Wow. That's
That's
facts. You dropping facts, Mr. Royal. I
yeah.
love it. So now I realize I got a celebrity for real here.
You
I
got
want
you
to
got you got somebody that loves music. And
uh
I never honestly I never had an inkling that one day I'd have an opportunity to be on a stage with all the people that all I ever did was oogle at and just admire because they were my
yeah.
idols. They were the idols that, you know, on the radio or on TV, they had my undivided attention. I never thought I'd get a chance not only to sing on the stage, but actually to meet and even befriend a lot of them. So it's been a great music ride for me because, uh, yeah, my story is different. It's different.
Right, right. It's like you said, it's the relationships that you build along the way. I find that that is like for me, the highest privilege, and I regard it as as like something that I have to keep sacred, right? Because
Oh,
I just feel like my grandmother always told me, and this is just a little pearl, some wisdom that your blessings come from people, places, and things, and you need to understand it and be open to it. So the people that I have been able to as well been introduced to during my journey, I know how you feel in terms of they're highly respectable, and you want to keep those intact and honor those people. So yeah, well, thanks for sharing that, man. I felt like I needed a actual notepad, take some copious notes because you was actually telling some real facts. I hope the audience was listening, and this recording they can always go back and listen to it. But that's some great history right there. But I like to now kind of pivot and turn into what you're doing now and with Venro Records and how you took what you've learned and now you're implementing it so that other individuals can take advantage of your knowledge and your connections.
okay. Well, what I did back in 2008, just historically, there was a guy that wound up becoming the first Black president in the United States. Our own and honored President Obama. In 2008, I was still a part of the Orioles group. We were still performing. In fact, my last performance with the Orioles was at the Kennedy Center.
Okay.
And during that time period, I had been inspired to write a song for president because I was really excited. I mean, the thought of just a Black man running for president had my blood boiling.
Yeah,
So
right.
I was inspired to write a song, and I did. And I took the song to the Orioles with the intent of trying to get the group to perform the song with me and introduce it as something that the President Obama then Mr. Obama could use during his campaign.
Mhm.
However, it wasn't received well by the group, and I made an executive decision on my own that I was going to go for it. So I actually resigned from the group and went on to release a song called the Obama theme song, Barack Steady, which was used around the world during the campaign for President Obama.
Wow, I remember that tune. I
Uh,
remember that. So let me find out. I hope did everybody hear that? Yeah, go check.
and
Definitely.
anyway, not only did I use it during the '08 campaign, and I got picked up by the Democratic Party here in the Maryland area. I traveled with the campaign,
Wow.
performed in a lot of places. Ultimately, I performed at one of the inaugural balls for President Obama at
Wow, what experience.
Grand Hyatt. That was really exciting, but it was cold that night. I know it was cold. Did that after that. 2012 came around, and uh, President Obama ran a second time. Again, they used my same song. I actually went back to the studio, made a few changes. I actually updated the song because I was able to include some of his accomplishments in the new song. And the same song, just changed some of the lyrics.
Okay.
And it was during that time I met my producer, my video producer, because we actually at that point created a video, and that was Mr. Scott Brown.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
together we got together and uh, we got awards for the video. The video is done. It's about a 5-minute video. but it was very exciting and we got a lot accomplished there. And to this day, Mr. Brown and myself, we still are in association. We've created music as well as more videos. But I went on from that and I did a song called Taxation Without Representation.
I remember
Being
that
from
too.
DC, DC having no representation in Congress other than we have shadow representatives who don't have the authority to vote.
Right.
I was inspired to write a song, and this was at the. I'm gonna throw out some credit here to a friend of mine. His name is Roger Gore. Roger Gore is the president. He owns a company called G Natural, which is a hairline product. And he asked me a very powerful question. He said, "Royal, when President Obama's era is over, what are you going to do then?" Said, and you're already at a high level. What are you going to do to continue? Because you can't fall back.
Right.
And then I was inspired. Somebody else said, "Well, why don't you do a song for DC?" I said, "Why not?" Because I'd already done one political song. So I did. And it turned out that that song, in 2013, it was adopted by Stand Up Free DC as their official theme song for DC statehood. And I was then assigned, that's how I acquired the name of the music ambassador. Uh,
Ah, okay.
I was taking their cause, their anthem, and singing it everywhere. And I might add that even doing the Obama song, there was an organization called Black Women for Obama. They adopted my Obama song as the official song for President Obama's campaign.
I remember them. I
And
remember
they're
that group.
still around too. I still work with them in capacity also. They are now Black Women for Positive Change.
Oh, okay.
That's the
Yeah.
same
Okay.
organization. But I
Oh,
went on from there and I did that song and I did another song with Mr. Brown called Black Lives Matter that we released a video back in December of last year.
yeah.
We actually I wrote that song in 2015, but
Wow.
all of the stuff that happened last year regarding George Floyd and all of I was inspired to pick the song up and really start pushing it. And we've done some great things with that song. And my last offering during the the recent the end of the during the campaign uh, for Biden, uh,
Uh,
when 45, when Trump was really adamant about not leaving the office, that he was fighting tooth
yeah.
and nail to stay elected. I wrote a song called "Ain't Gotta Go Home, Just Gotta Get the Hell Up Out of Here."
I remember. I'm laughing. I hate. I started laughing when I felt you was going down this path. I said
Yeah.
because I love
Anyway,
and
that
that.
that 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 uh, that really was the icing on the cake. Again, I still now am currently the music ambassador for about 3 or 4 different organizations, either have been or are another group. I did their theme song, 100 Fathers Incorporated, which we mentor young men to become better men as they grow
Okay.
older. And we also work with fathers who, for whatever reason, maybe they were incarcerated and just re-entering back into society, and they need help and want help to be involved in their children's lives and all kinds of situations. So proud to work with them. And currently I'm in the studio working on a new one, Good Trouble, which is a tribute to John
Oh yeah,
Lewis.
John Lewis. Absolutely. I had the opportunity to work with Mr. Lewis and Reverend Lowry, his wife,
Mhm.
who passed, preceded him in death, on a project with the Women SCLC. And we had a reenactment of Bloody Sunday. I want to say like maybe 10 years ago,
Wow.
and I met him, a phenomenal guy. Actually, all the individuals that participated in that event, from Jesse Jackson, his wife, and a couple others. I like felt honored, but I was in awe because I was like, wow. When you go to the actual place where these things happen, has, they happened at that particular time, and the significance of it, it was like it's a critical thing, right? It took me, like, I wasn't there when it happened, but as it people were talking and they were choreographing the whole process, and we were walking across the bridge, and people were telling us what was happening at that particular time, and how people would trample. Oh my God! But anyway, Joe Lewis is a phenomenal guy, and he's gonna be missed, especially with all these now the suppression of the vote. That's a whole nother art. That's a whole nother
Oh,
discussion.
God,
I had
yeah.
to jump on and have a, what they call this, the after video, to talk
Oh,
about
goodness.
that, because I just 43 states want to change mail-in ballots, right? So
Uh-huh.
uh, we have company, and he would be, I think he'd be
Yeah,
fit to be
irate about
tied.
it. He would. He would
Right, fit to be tied.
absolutely upset.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, and speaking of that, just a couple. I know we only got a couple of minutes, but being the nephew of Dorothy Heights
That was a
had to be a
great nephew.
great
Great
nephew.
nephew.
Okay, and I had
My daddy was the nephew.
okay, so
My
I had the
grandnephew.
privilege of working with her on the same topic. We helped with the Harvard bill, which was Help America Vote Act, and we did a lot of work with Mark Morial, and we worked with the Get Out the Vote campaign back in the 2000. And suppression was rampant at that point, but she always would say before they got to their house, they had to go by my house or our house, right? So
There
coming up Pennsylvania Avenue,
you
and
go. There you go.
so yeah, she was a good person, and definitely I learned a couple things from her. But tell, how did that impact your life?
Well, really great. As a child, I always knew about her,
Uh
but
huh.
I was never close. I had never met her. I didn't get a chance to meet her until, like you said, back in the 2000s myself.
Okay.
We weren't close. However, I had the privilege of doing a seminar with her at Howard. Actually, it was a symposium during the summer up at Howard University. I was representing the Orioles because I was a member of the Orioles at that time, and uh, we mentored young people who were entering Howard, which is I'm alumni of,
Uh huh.
and it was a 2 week program. And every day we had to come there. We met the young people, and we spent the day with them. And we also talked to them about the different fields. She talked to them about uh, being a civil rights activist, being involved in because she was also a Delta
Right.
personality, as well as all the other things that she was a part of. She did a lot of things for not just Black women, but for all women, even
Oh
in
yeah,
the military.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah, during the 40s, and along with being an advisor to all of the presidents up to President Obama. She advised every president from Roosevelt always. She was a very close friend to Mrs. Roosevelt, and it was awesome. I learned a lot, and I was even inspired. I started a nonprofit organization, not like the National Council of Negro Women. I formed one because I wanted to stay in my lane, which was music.
Uh huh.
So I created the uh, Black Music Awareness Foundation Incorporated, which I am the CEO of. And our mission is preserving the history and legacy of Black musicians and entertainers of all genres of music, as well as providing them with a path to learning their music history and the business of music, like we talked about
Yeah.
before. I'm doing that through my nonprofit, and we're doing a lot of things. I've had a chance already to meet a lot of people. We were about to launch right at the beginning of the pandemic. We are set up, we are a legitimate 501c organization, nonprofit, but we had to pull back because of the COVID. But
Oh yeah.
now
Yeah.
we
Makes
are
sense.
setting up because we want to get provide mentorship for aspiring musicians and singers and writers.
Mhm.
We are documenting a lot of the unsung music history that that was never written.
Okay.
We also are trying to raise, we're going to be raising scholarship in school, and also helping musicians who are still with us to get their stories documented, as well as provide them with the opportunity. I mean, can you imagine a young guy that wants to be a singer, but we can go get somebody who is, a renowned world-class singer mentoring him.
Hmm.
So we're doing that. We have a lot of musicians and entertainers who we are going to be bringing out to, and some are seniors too, who are be uh, tutoring and maybe giving music lessons and things that they can be passing on their craft and their story, so that it can be documented and also influence some young people into the reality of what the music world really is. Because, like you said at the beginning, so many of us, we caught the short end of the stick when it came to the business of music.
Right.
And this is my goal. This is something that we can do. And also we have the opportunity now to tell our story and not have somebody else just telling our story.
Well, see, that's the problem in society and us as a culture and as well individually as well, is that we allow other people to tell our story, so we give up that right, and our narratives become theirs. And the goal is to keep those preserved, right, and tell your own story. And I just it's such a disservice. And like I said initially, your organization is out there, especially your nonprofit, to help individuals navigate this space where it seems like it's a space where it's strategically set to deprive people that don't have the knowledge,
Mhm.
to deprive them of what's really theirs. Because I think I had a discussion with a young lady friend of mine. We were talking about just the whole things about around masters, and how and who owns their own music and the right to it. And when you go look at the list of African Americans that actually own their masters, is it five? I don't know, maybe 10.
It's, it's,
I
it's, it's a small percentage.
Yeah.
And in fact,
So
we
that's
have
horrible.
the numbers have it now that the young people
Oh
who,
yeah.
who are rappers and hip hop and stuff, a lot of them one of the things, the advent of the computer and the technology that we have now, it is grossly leveled the playing field. So you can actually get your music out and not on a major label,
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're
not
right.
have the big finance, but again, you can create a website, you can do a Facebook page, you can do Twitter, you can do all the things that anybody else can do. And if you do it well and you got good quality music, you can possibly get your music to places independently to music up to a point of recognition and where you can make some substantial money.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
this has been a it's a real, but again, one of the dilemmas that it also created for some of the older musicians who aren't tech savvy, they've been left in the dust. Their music,
Yeah.
listen, their music has been sampled, has been used, and people are making more money off of their music than they ever made when they first created it. And that's one of the sad parts. So part of what I'm actually involved in. I was fortunate this past weekend. I spoke with Bob Crosby, who is the CEO of the Vocal Group Hall of Fame.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I just happened to call because I wanted some information in regards to some of the performances that I was a part of when at the Vocal Group Hall of Fame during the 2000s to see if I could get some videos. And I talked with him, and I was really inspired that part of the legacy of the Vocal Group Hall of Fame is going back and reaching out to the remnants of the different groups and musicians to them in places that they were could be paid for what they do and what they know, and also feature them and their music in a positive way, making them ambassadors for the Vocal Group Hall of Fame. And I'm talking with him now. We had about, I just called him, just wasn't doing, it was Sunday night, wasn't doing anything, just called, wasn't looking to get an answer or speak to
Mhm.
anybody on
Mhm.
Sunday. And Lord, the call was redirected to his personal phone, and he answered the phone, And after we talked for a minute, he remembered me when I performed with the Orioles in Sharon, Pennsylvania. And we
Mhm.
talked about, I was there when the Whispers were inducted and the Temptations, and I met Mary Wilson and so many other great groups. So it was fun, and I look forward possibly to working with them with some of the upcoming things that they're doing also.
Oh wow.
We're just trying to get it together.
Well, that's good, Mr. Royal. I love this conversation. I know we could probably go on for at least an hour because you have so much detail, right? In terms of history that I think people need to know. So we might have to do a part two. But
That's
I'm
fine. You-
okay if you're amenable
Anything
to
that
that.
like I said, I truly do applaud you and all women. You have to. I mean, I was raised by women. My aunt, I have an aunt. One of my remaining aunts, she, man, her name is Doretha. Her
Uh-huh.
maiden name was Height. She looks so much like Dorothy Height.
Okay.
And it is a tradition. The Height women love to wear hats. Okay, that's
Okay.
that's a family fact. Okay, but I'm just elated that we do have so many things that we still can do. And my whole point was, I admire women like yourself who have not only the beauty and the brains, but the heart to get out there and do good things. And again, I look back to Dorothy Height, who was a trailblazer and certainly who
Mhm.
set a benchmark for women to aspire to want to do more with class, with intelligence, with integrity, all those good things that we don't have to have women out there just being exploited for
All right, for
so many
sure.
negative reasons, but we can take advantage of all of their information, the love that they bring to help change our community and help change the world.
Well, I'm glad you said that, and I can end on this note. Let me tell you, because I was thinking about this story in terms of Dorothy Height. One day we were sitting at this table, we're talking about the suppression that was going on. We were working on, I think it was 2000. I think we were working on who we were trying to get elected at. That's Gore. We was actually working on a Gore campaign
Mhm,
at that time, and she was sitting at the table, and I was sitting next to her, and they were talking about oh, the conversation was about statistics around voting and all the adverse things that were happening in communities, especially down south. So I was tasked with going to Mississippi. So I went down to Mississippi. I remember the heat was unbearable. But anyway, I was there, and when I came back and gave my report, she was sitting next to me and she said, "How do you feel like how do you feel being part of the problem?" I said, "Problem?" So I automatically got on the defense, but I knew not to say anything because, she's the elder. So, and she left me there thinking, stewing on that. So, like, the next 2 days went by. I think we went back there that end of that week and we talked. She said, "Did you think about what I said?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Society is talk about the adversary people or
mhm.
the opposition is they're always going to try to make you look like part of the problem. So what are you going to do about it?" So I decided already. My great great grandmother told me I was destined for greatness anyway. So I decided I'm going to make a difference by creating organizations that will be a conduit
Mhm.
to be able to push information out, make those connections, do the things that we need to do for us as a community, but not and just not African American communities, but women. And if I could be a beacon of light in the world, whatever I need to do to and use my talents to do that, I will. So she was a part of the women that have inspired me. And a lot of people didn't even know I never bragged or talked about working with Dorothy Height. So some people gonna watch this and say, "Damn, Katrina worked with Dorothy Height too." But everybody gotta know what you do.
Yeah,
But anyway, I remember that, and I'm going to end on that. And my show is called "I'm Just Saying." So I'm
that
glad, Mr. Height, you had the opportunity
question. I
for
have,
us.
could I leave my contact information?
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. I was getting ready to end and say, "Hey, thank you so much, but I would like people to know where they can find you at." So,
Okay.
and then we could call it a show. This was an excellent show. Thank you, Mr. Height.
You're more than welcome. I've enjoyed myself. And if any of your viewers like to contact me or be in touch with me, they can reach me at my website, which is Venro Records. And I'll repeat this, I'll call it Venro, spelled with a Venro, records with an S, records.com. And if you'd like to email me, if you go to venrorecords@gmail.com, you can reach me. Or if you would like to place a direct call to me, I can be reached at area code 240-606-9742. And we do invite you to contact us and subscribe to us and support us as we support all of the good things that are happening to make a positive difference in our communities. So again, I thank you, Dr. Cat, for inviting me and look forward to getting with you again. And I want you to know that you are going to be invited to be a part of my programming also.
Well, I appreciate the invitation and I will be there. Definitely. So, everybody, I hope you got his information. And if you did not, our producer, Scott Brown, he will have that information embedded into this email. And feel free to reach out to Mr. Hyde. He definitely has an exceptional program, but he also has now coming out a radio station. So, all you guys that love that old school music, his channel will be the channel you would want to connect to. Signing off from I'm Just Saying. Talk to you next time.